everybody. I'm Mike. I'm an alcoholic. My sobriety date is 1/31/16, and Shepard of the Hills is my home group. Best home group in the world, right here, baby. Anyways, so I'm introducing Gerard tonight. And one of the things that I admire about Gerard is that he's always there when I call. He's always there when I need him, and it doesn't matter if it's AA stuff or just life stuff. And that's one thing that I love about AA is I don't have to go through this shit alone. That I gotta have some people in my corner. And people that I can talk about serious stuff with. And cut up and have a good time with. And Gerard's definitely one of those. And I see him. He's got long-term sobriety, but I see him working the steps still in his life, and I see that in the proof is in the pudding, as my sponsor always tells me, and that's what I see. And so I give you Gerard.
Pretty nice introduction, huh? Gerard Alcoholic. Shepard of the Hills is my home group. It's like having an AA meeting, only I'm the only one speaking tonight. But my sobriety date, March 10th, 1982. And I am not the oldest person in the room. Slow Will right there, 1981, right? Well, 80. Like I said, 19, who's counting? But 1980. Yeah. So I was going to make a joke, but the truth is, when you go before a judge, I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God, right? Yeah. What I'm going to say, I'll try and, you notice who's not here? My wife. You go ahead and do the math on that, right? Well, I was blessed to talk to Rick before the meeting a little bit. I didn't know that he and I were both at the 1990 Seattle International Convention. But the title in Seattle, Washington was AA's in town. For you young people, there used to be these things called newspapers, okay? I know it's weird, yeah. And it says, AA is in town. The bars are empty and the coffee shops are full. And it was just really cool. But I was very blessed. I didn't get to, when I was really young, speaking took on a lot more of my ego than it does right now. And I got to speak in one of those. It wasn't like the big room, but there was a couple thousand people there. And I was nervous, and my sponsor pulled me to the side, and he said, "What are you so nervous about?" I said, "I don't know, there's a lot of people out there." He said, "If you say anything worth repeating," he says, "it's going to be God and not you." So I always pray and ask God to speak through you. So I've heard enough great stories. I've heard enough good talks. I know there's 3 parts to this: what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So that's what you're going to hear from me tonight. So what it was like, it's not hard for me to see. I was blessed enough to go back after I got sober and get a degree, but the coolest thing I learned about was I did a paper one time on genetic predisposition. It's like I wanted to know why I'm an alcoholic. And whether it's environment or your hereditary, it really doesn't matter. If we had cancer, it wouldn't matter, would it? If we got it from our food, or I just got it genetically, right? You got cancer, it's time to treat it. But I was raised in a home that very early in life I saw two different viewpoints of my household, because 7 kids. My dad was county attorney. My mom was the nurse at our registered nurse at the local hospital. They were like celebrities in that town. They were somebody. My dad, they were both decorated veterans. My dad did 2 wars, came back, moved to Minnesota, and took his GI Bill and went to law school. So this guy could kill you with his bare hands and get away with it. Let me tell you, this is not a man to be messed with. This was not a man that ever repeated anything he asked me to do. I was dialed in and on it, okay? And my mom was the same way. So I was raised in an absolute, inside the household was a different household than outside, because of those 2 wars and what my dad was dealing with. As far back as I know, alcoholism goes back about 4 generations. So I don't know what that was all about, but all I know is being raised as a child. And the best description I could give you is when I heard people describe how they felt in a POW camp over in Vietnam, talking about every day you really didn't know how the day was going to go. Because my dad, you talk about post-traumatic stress along with alcoholism, along with blackout drinkers. With my 5 sisters, I got a lot of what some people would say very traumatic physical abuse. When nobody ever said anything to anybody because we didn't want to look bad. I couldn't go to the hospital. That's where my mom worked, right? So all that, it's like, keep it all inside. So I say all that. I think that the level of fear and all of that at 7 or 8 years old finally came to a point in my life to where, of course, being a good Catholic kid, a member of the CIA, Catholic Irish Alcoholics, we always never miss Mass, even though my dad, my favorite part about Mass was we're all lined up and my dad's over there like this and he's snoring, and not only is he asleep, but he's emanating vodka fumes all the way through the church. And the church lady turns around and she's looking at us, and in her eyes she's saying, everybody here is going to hell, just in case you're wondering, and I'm like, yeah, thanks, Dad, I'm screwed right out of the bat, I knew I was going to hell because of him. So, but I had a pretty amazing thing that happened to me because, you can reach a bottom emotionally at all kinds of different ages in life. And I was between 7 and 8 years old. I can't tell you exactly when it happened, when I had my first spiritual awakening. And to say that it was like euphoric would be, that's the only time I really struggle. How do you describe a spiritual experience to a very damaged child that was just, I'm at church, I'm thinking, God, I need help. I don't know what to do. And I could feel all the anger and the fear inside me. And I had this, like, not really an outer body, but a absolute, like, about 2,000 volts of electricity go through me. And I felt very, very light. And I almost felt like the light in the room changed. I can't explain it, other than those were physical things that happened to me. So that was the same day that we lived about 2 miles from church, that my dad loaded all the kids up in the car and forgot to count heads, and he forgot me. Yeah, oh yeah. So, you know what I did? I walked home. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't even know what a phone was at 7 or 8 years old. So I walked home, and but on that walk, I felt like, wow, this is pretty cool. My life still sucks, but God's real. At 7 or 8 years old, I knew that. So fast forward to about 11, 12 years old, I got 3 older sisters that they were partiers. Shocker, right? Yeah. That my mom allowed them, because she was like the cop, to have what they call anybody remember keggers? Yeah. Kegger parties. We had kegger parties at my house, baby. Yeah. So I'm 11 years old, and there's a half full bottle of Pink Ripple, Boone's Farm. Anybody remember Boone's Farm? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Boone's Farm, baby. And I smelled it, and like, it smells kind of like grape juice, is what that is. And I'm like, well, I guess I could try a sip, Oh yeah, 3 hours later, I was thrown up in the toilet, But I drank every bit of it, and then I was looking for more, So there started a abnormal reaction to alcohol, or maybe a very normal, based on what you already know about me. Because my dad was an attorney. My grandfather was a doctor. But my dad's 13 uncles, 11 of them were doctors, 2 of them were lawyers, and there was a couple cousins that were circuit court judges. Every one of those guys, I found out later, died from alcoholism. Yeah. So it's all part of being Irish. I mean, every single one of them. My sister found out through one of our cousins. Shh. We don't talk about. We talk about, again, what's the world see? Oh yeah, we're all smart. So smart. They all drank themselves to death. That's how smart they were. So there's my pedigree. So I started drinking and drank as much as I could when I could. And like everybody else, once you start that, you're looking for reasons to get away from that discipline. I discovered that I could play the drums. And I listened to music on the radio, and I told my mom, I think I can play the drums. And she's like, yeah, shut up. You don't know anything. You're a kid, So I go to the sixth grade junior high, what they used to call a trap set. And I sat down at that trap set, and I saw the bass drum and the snare and some sticks, and I could play the drums. So at 17 years old, I left all of that behind me, went on the road in a rock and roll band. And I was going to make it. Every childhood fantasy. We're gonna make it, baby. We're gonna do it. Well, 2-3 years later, I'm a 19, 20-year-old kid, and I did make it. I was in Hollywood. I was a studio drummer. I was a union drummer. In fact, I auditioned with about I don't know, there's probably 75, 100 different drummers there, and because I could sing harmony, I got put in another special class. They take 100 and then it'll be 50 and 25. Anyway, I ended up being the backup drummer for a very famous guy back in the 1970s. And what that did is that opened up the license for me at a 19, 20-year-old kid. Girlfriends? Very important, right, guys? We like a lot of girlfriends, don't we? Especially when we're 19, don't we? Yeah. Oh, yeah. We like girls. Oh, yeah. All the alcohol I could drink, and you can call it dry goods or whatever you want to call it. But I was a garbage can as far as what that goes. But man, alcohol was my best friend. It was my social lubricant to getting what I wanted, the way I wanted, how I wanted it. So I lived that lifestyle, and all the backup band, even though we were all studio musicians, we all could read music. All that meant was if the drummer on the road got sick, which was a code word for his heart blown up from too many drugs, they had to have a backup drummer that could step in, because you miss one show on what they call the big show, you're gone. You don't get that spot back. I don't care if you got 110 fever, you're there. So all that success, I don't know when it was, because things get real foggy when you get into that part of your drinking, because you're so driven by the delusion and the ego and the fear and the alcohol and the drugs, and it all was like a big cocktail that I never was suicidal, but I felt like my life was going to come to an end very soon. I was at such a fast pace. I'm not quite sure how much longer I could have put up with it. I do know this. I talked to one of my old guys 20, 25 years ago, and everybody in that band has been dead for a long time. So that's not a lifestyle you live real long. So I'm miserable, and I'm like, I gotta stop. I gotta stop this crap. I've got to stop. I don't know how, but I gotta stop something. And I was living up in Yucaipa, California. Anybody know Yucaipa or Cherry Valley? Just a little nothing places up where they have apple trees and all that stuff. Real pretty up there. And I stopped for about maybe 3 days, and I was not in my right mind. And I think at about 6 days, I saw this white knuckle sobriety, and for some reason, how the brain is, I thought, well, crap, I haven't even prayed and asked for some help. So I prayed at about day 6 or 7, and these are all just guesses. Guess what happened? I had another spiritual experience. And it was much like what I had when I was 6 or 7 or 7 or 8 years old. Much like that. Not exactly like that, but enough to where, whew, God's real. Didn't know. I forgot. And this happened at night. Being a Catholic kid, you drop down on your knees and you pray, and this big thing happened, and I was at such peace I went to bed, actually is what I did. And I woke up the next morning, and I kind of just rolled out on my knees again. I'm saying, God, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go. I'd walked away from everything. I was missing, and if you're missing, you don't get any work. So I'm unemployed, and basically at the end of that deal, and it probably took, that was on maybe a Thursday or Friday. I kept feeling like maybe I should call my dad. I understand my dad was the guy that was the administrator of all that physical child abuse. He was the terrorist. He was the monster in my childhood, and I kept getting this feeling from something to call him. My dad was an attorney for a big firm, and still he was winding up his career and still drinking himself to death. But he had an 800 number, and I had anybody remember a payphone? I actually walked down to the payphone, and I don't have a quarter on me or a dime. I'm glad I can do the 800 number, So I called my dad. I think it was even one of the rotary dial things. And he said, I kind of explained what was going on with me, and he said, son, you may or may not, this may not be useful information to you, but he said, I've been going to Alcoholics Anonymous now for 7 or 8 months, and I'm sober. And he said, you might want to try it and see if it's something, I'm not saying you have a problem with alcohol, but you might want to try it. And man, it's funny how when you're listening, you can hear God speaking through other people. And that's what happened. And that changed the whole course of my life changed, because I didn't know what to do. I'm like 4 or 5 days like, well, I guess I'm just going to sit in this empty house feeling pretty good, because I'm like, I can still kind of feel that residual. So I go of all places. I call this number. I go to Alcoholics Anonymous in Riverside, California. Anybody been to Riverside?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Or we used to call it Reeferside, is what we call it, But actually Rubidoux, the Rubidoux Club, yeah. And I walk into this AA club, and I'm young, and when you're fearful, you look cocky. When you're fearful, you're sticking your chest out. When you're fearful, you're there. Because I speak, because of all my child abuse issues. I was quick to be offended. I was quick to get into an argument, and quick to take it to the next level. If you guys wanted to do that, I was in a lot better shape back then. But I walk into this club, and they're like, "Oh, you looking for a meeting?" I'm like, "Yeah, I guess." So they take me back to the meeting, and everybody's a big room. I mean, a room that's maybe 4 times this size, big club in Rubidoux, and everybody's sitting over there. Everybody's sitting around one table, like that table there. So I sat way over here. I was sitting on this side, and a guy come over and got me, and I started hearing people share, and they started talking about themselves, which I really liked. They were just sharing, and they're going around the room, and there was this common denominator thread. It's like I could kind of getting excited. I heard people talking about recovery, talking about spiritual things, and it was really great right up until the last speaker. And he's been dead a long time. I can break his anonymity. Dick Peel, Richard Peel. He had 17 years of sobriety. He was one of the old timers there. He said he'd really have come a long way in his sobriety. He was working with one main defective character in his life. He was a farmer, and that was dealing with not being involved with the sheep as farm animals. Yeah, he was into farm animals. So let that sit in for just a second. I'm like, I think I'm in the wrong room is what I think. Yeah, I'm getting very uncomfortable, this guy talking about farm animals and just like he was just working on a little defect, and I'm like, I think this guy's going to hell is what I'm thinking. This isn't right, You can't make that up, right? This is my first AA meeting. The fact that I came back to a second one is absolutely amazing. But when I think about what, because I thought, well, I'm in AA now, I'll get me a sobriety date. I didn't have a sponsor. I didn't know I was supposed to have a sponsor. They said something about sponsorship, but they said the answer's in the book. I heard that part. So I took the big book, and because they'd had these big, huge participation meetings, and then the next night, they're like, hey, everybody come back for the step study. And these are big meetings out there, right? Well, 200 people, easy, maybe 300 sometimes. So you go to these big meetings, and then the second meeting or third meeting I went to was a step study, and there's about 20 of us, and I'm like, wow, man, AA took a real hit last night. Everybody got drunk, man. Wow, this is terrible. But nobody was really studying the book, and I started talking about it. So I did my first 4 steps, and I wrote out my 4th step all by myself, and I was so paranoid. I went to being raised Catholic, even though I didn't feel any connection there. I went to a Catholic priest at 11 days of sobriety, and I gave him my 5th step. 11 days. So you do with that whatever you want. Some people do I used to go to meetings with Agnostic Gene, who did a step a year, and I wouldn't have made it to the 2nd year if I didn't get some immediate. And it wasn't a perfect 4th and 5th, but it was good enough to get started. It was a start. Then I got a sponsor after that. But I think about what we go through, because I think you guys understand that I am a definite qualified member. The fact that I came from that lifestyle to what my real sponsor, who was also an ex-Marine, 20 years, 14 ranks, decorated Vietnam guy that could probably kill everybody in this room as an old man, right? One of those guys. He said, listen, he said, I want to put some guidelines down for you because you're young. And he said, there's a slip under every skirt. I'll let that sink in for a while. And he said, go to a meeting a day until I tell you not to. He said, because if this really was cancer or terminal illness, because I was serious. I was like, I don't ever want to go back to who I was, because it was right there. It's like I'm new. I'm 5-6 days sober, 3 weeks, and it's right there. I got this mountain of momentum behind me that I don't know if it's going to overcome me or I'm going to overcome it. I can feel it. I can feel this, but I can feel that, just like I can feel that wall. And I'm like, scared. You talk about running scared? I was afraid of me. Why? Because all I did was lie, delusional, fearful, con artist, get in my way. I could see the selfish and self-centeredness. And I could start to see the real problem. Because the book says that drinking is only a symptom. So there was so much. He took so much time. In fact, I didn't give all my books away. I gave most of them. But my other sponsor, old Papa Ken, February 17th of 2002, before he died, this is the last book. So I try and take it with me when I go up and speak. So maybe he'll like that. But he said, go to a meeting a day until I tell you not to. And in between meetings, Two things I don't want you to do. Don't drink or get married in between meetings. And for some reason, I knew exactly what he was talking about, Because when you're young, you think, man, I'm bulletproof. But I felt all that. Residual. All that was already there. I knew that, whether you want to call it sex and checks or romance and finance or whatever you want to call, some of us, you get everything you want and you're absolutely miserable. There is something wrong with this life. So I don't know if that was a blessing or a curse, but let me tell you, I got everything I wanted and there was something definitely fatally wrong with me. So the change, now we're here, right? And we're all here. We're here. You see this? You guys know about this guy? Pretty good analogy, huh, Mike? This guy right here. He'll cruise along for about 40 years in his life and do pretty good. He gets 40 years under his belt and he's got a choice. He's got a choice to either live or die. You know what this cat has to do? And I think it takes about 4 months total. With his own beak, he's got to take his own beak and pluck all the feathers that are heavy. His feathers are so heavy, he can't fly anymore. He's a sitting duck. He can't go up high enough to fly. So what he has to do is take his own beak and pick all of the feathers off of his body until he's completely bald. He's got to take his own beak and pluck out his talons out of his feet. And then he's got to take his own beak and smash it against the rock and live completely vulnerable and naked for about 3 or 4 months before he gets restored. That's what you go through with this thing if you do it right. Man, God stripped me down. It wasn't like, oh, yeah, light and fluffy, easy, half measures sobriety, half measures availed us nothing. But this guy, he knows if he doesn't do it, he won't live. He'll die. What's he get for doing it? 30 more years of life. So I wanted 30 more years of life. And look, here I am, 44 years. I should be dead so long ago. Every day is a gift for me, So, every day is a gift. My kids, my grandkids. Where I live, what I do, it's all on the other side of this. But you got to pay the price, man. You can't go half measures on this dude. Doesn't work. They all go back out. And I heard a guy the other day say, oh, there's all kinds of different answers out there, but every problem I've ever had in my life, the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous is all I've needed to stay sane, to stay sober. Because what this did for me, working all 12 steps, and even though I did pretty terrible job in the beginning of trying to sponsor people, it kept me sober. It kept that spiritual awakening in me, because I don't care whether you're cooking a dinner or giving somebody a ride, man. When we're helping each other, God helps those that help others. There's no other way around it. You've got to, that's the secret sauce, is the depth and weight. Go sponsor somebody and take them through the steps in a terrible way. Guess what? Your sobriety will be absolutely guaranteed. That's the secret sauce. It's not us. I'm still that same alcoholic kid that just had nothing but problems, and I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I belonged. I didn't fit in anywhere. But I look at I have a son. One of the reasons I brought Bob Darrell out here a couple years ago to speak is because my son listened to him for 3 days on a YouTube tape. Didn't know if he was an alcoholic or not. Now he just celebrated 3 years of sobriety. One son. I got another son. not so much, okay? Yeah. So it's very hard to do the live and let live when it comes to your own children. But man, I get excited every time I think about us coming together as a group, not only encouraging each other, but we light each other's fire. You can say that 2 logs burn better than one. You can go Bible and say 2 or more are gathered in His name, He is there. I don't care what you say. There is something that happens in a room where we come together and we're of one body and one mind and one accord, and we just want to get better and help and grow closer to our Creator. Some great things happen. You get plugged in. So getting plugged in is one thing. You got to stay plugged in.
There you go.
You got to stay. 4 months this guy went through that just to live. Doesn't seem like a lot right now when I think about the years, because I didn't just, people look at my beautiful wife and think, man, you really got it made. Well, I paid a pretty big price in my day, because I was young when I came to AA, and I stayed away from the women. And that was not easy, because in AA, it seemed like I had a new girlfriend on the horizon every single day. And she was looking at me, and I'm looking at her thinking, I think we got something going on here, right? Just across the meeting, I'm telepathically thinking, as soon as this meeting's over, it's on, baby, right? And then I feel the Spirit, and I see my sponsor, and I feel the Spirit go, I got a better life for you. I got a better life for you. Don't sell yourself out. That's who you were. That's not who you are. That's who you were. Don't do that to you. That crushes your spirit. Not only that, women make terrible higher powers, okay? Sorry, I tried. Yeah. And women are like, yeah, well, so do men. I get it. Easy. Don't throw things at me. I get it. I was talking to Anastasia before. I said, hey, it's a spiritual malady. That's what's wrong with me. It doesn't get fixed by sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or money, property, and prestige. That doesn't work. In fact, that's the problem. Because I get my ego stroked, and I'm thinking, all right, everything's just fine, right? Because somebody stroked my ego. And it's the exact opposite. Because this book tells me, above everything, I got to be rid of my selfishness, or it kills me. That's hard words for us, because I'm extremely selfish and self-centered. I have had a rough couple of weeks. I got a new job. I got 4 children. I have my son, who sold his house, and he's getting ready to go into CRNA school, my daughter-in-law, and 2 lovely little crying, screaming grandchildren in my house right now. And I wish I could just pull up a cot and sleep here tonight. I'd get more peace than going home to this hellhole that I live in, But, God said, oh yes, be of service. I'm like, I got your service. Get out of my house, because I'm so spiritual, right? What a joke. I'm still me. But God is still God.
Come on.
There's a difference, okay? When I'm just in me, man, good luck. You got nothing. I'm as selfish as anybody. But I'll call Benji. God brought Benji over to my house, and we had a meeting out in my driveway. I needed that meeting bad because it's so easy to get, back into self. I'm going to read the promises because I think self-seeking slips back. It's hard for me to not be selfish, and that's why we come to meetings. That's why we talk to us about practicing the principles. Anything I practice, I get better at.
Right.
Practice getting better. Practice being unselfish. Practice picking up the phone. Practice doing the one thing every day. Here's one for you. My sponsor had about 6-7 months of sobriety, and I pretty well knew everything, and I should be president of AA at that point in time. He said, I want you to take this next month, and I want you to do one thing unselfishly for somebody every day, and don't tell anybody. Oh my, that killed me. That just, I need the trophy and the job that I just walked away from. They said, listen, you got 16 trophies that are all lined up here. You need to come pick them up. I said, no, I don't. I said, I have the memories. I don't need those trophies. I said, why don't you recycle them? Give them to somebody else. Give 2 craps about trophies, But I used to live for that kind of stuff. And now I live for this kind of stuff. The good feeling of feeling connected. The good feeling of when you talk, having something more deep to talk about than the weather or the Chiefs or something that's superfluous. That's a fun game, but there's no depth and weight to it. The depth and weight comes from this, from the change. You know, why can I talk about people in recovery? Because we got the change, man. I seen Sean getting on my friend over there a couple beds. And man, the change of us all having fun. The fun having something to give, because I had nothing. I was homeless when I started this deal. Now I have the appearance of wealth. What a joke that is. My kids have taken all my money. But you know what? I got a daughter that's a medical doctor. I got a son in law school. I have a son that's got a PhD that's running the city out there in Fresno. And I have a son that's getting ready to go into CRNA. He's an ICU nurse, but he's going to start up a Cox now. So my children are my blessing, okay? But it's because they were raised in this petri dish of trying to stay God-centered. And all my kids know all 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. They know what making amends is. They know what take your own inventory means. That's a good foundation for life, wouldn't you say? Amen. Yeah. Hey, you're powerless over it. If we got a problem in my house, program going to AA or not, hey, it sounds like a step one issue to me. And everybody will sit around, yeah, step one, yeah. And it pretty is. Dad's right about that. Sounds like there's a little step two deal there. Little insanity, a little insane in the membrane, you know. You're a little out there, you know, as Kramer would say. So then you got something to, yeah. And then you got something to turn over to 3 or a spot check inventory of or 9 and 10. Or maybe you need to pray and meditate 11. Or maybe you need to actually go do something for somebody else. Something real spiritual like vacuum the floor. Yes. Real spiritual. Get out of self and go do something. That's how all 12 steps like this, they link. It's all one thing. You never stop using them. They're all part of, all of a sudden, they're not out here, they're not out here, they're right here. They're in you. And you're the walking big book that everybody sees. That's what gets me excited. There's a word that I'm going to close with that I think you'll like. Somebody pointed this out this other day. It says, if we're painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are half through. We are going to know a new freedom. Wonder what the word new means. Because I thought I knew what new means. The word new means having recently come into existence, made or discovered, or not existing before. New. Different, huh? I'll read it again. Having recently come into a new existence. Means I've never experienced this new, well, you know, the new freedom that I had as a kid was being just drunk enough and not in trouble enough to, and have enough money and have enough of everything I thought I needed to serve self. That was as close as I got to new. But we're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. New happiness. New happiness. That's not the same happy. That's not selfish happy. That's a new happiness. It's a God-centered happiness. That's a depth and weight happiness. We will not regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. As long as my wife's not here, we can talk about whatever we want to, right? She has no idea who she married. Good God, no idea.
This is being recorded.
Oh, yeah, it's all right. Yeah. Not for you, Sandy. Yeah, sorry. Yeah. I screen all her calls, right? Yeah. We will comprehend the word serenity and we will know peace. I feel it. Feels good. God feels good. Did you know you can feel God? But what did I have to do? I had to stop being drunk. I had to stop using drugs. I had to stop chasing the world and slow down and say, God, are you real or are you not? And he was right there, just like he is right here, right now. Because God meets me. I'm dealing with an eternal God. He is eternal. He doesn't have a Timex watch. He is not in my past. He is not in my future. He meets me right here and right now. Every time I get quiet enough to listen. And that's a good God. Because, man, I run past it. I'm in the here and now every once in a while. zoom, 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 right? No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. That feeling of uselessness and self-pity, man, do we know that one? Will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. The fear, okay, get this. The fear of people and economic insecurity will leave us. It's not that the people will, and not that we don't have money problems, but it's that once the fear's gone, then I can deal with it. We will suddenly realize that God is doing for us what we could not do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? We think not. They are being fulfilled among us, sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we what? Work. This is work, guys. There's the one that starts out about it being painstaking. Like everybody that does the deal, it's really painful sometimes to deny yourself and to go to a meeting or to do something for somebody else. But on the other side of it, man, you got a life that's just absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.